What's going on, guys? Welcome into this first episode, this pilot episode of the Male Mind podcast. I've done a lot of podcasts over the years, guys, and this one is one that is near and dear to my heart and that I honestly think has a shot to make a tremendous impact in the world. So I'm here with my co-host, Luis Pena, and we're so excited to finally bring this project to you guys. And today we're just going to be talking about what this project even is, how it was born, kind of what our idea is, and what we want to accomplish with it. So Luis, thank you for being here, my man.
My man, thank you guys so much. My man, Tony. I'm super excited for this, you guys. This is been a couple of weeks of us, trying to figure out what to give you guys and what's going to work. What I mean by working is how can we change what's happening? And what's happening is, you guys, male mind, our mind as males, we have slowly transitioned over the years, over decades, to, be in depression, to be sad, to not speak to anybody, to not be vulnerable. We, as a team, we're trying to change that for all of you guys and give you guys a better understanding of how we can help as individuals, as a community. There's so many ways to fix what's happening in our minds and our soul and our bodies. And we're here to just give you guys, the understanding and the knowledge to help you guys become better as males.
Yeah, and really the idea is, and kind of where it took off for me was with this whole Twitch situation.
Right. Yep.
Right. So Twitch, famous dancer, people know him. I think you mentioned you dance with him yourself.
Yeah, back in the past.
And so he commits suicide. And it's not the first time that somebody from the arts world commits suicide. You had Robin Williams,
right.
Some other people. But whenever these things happen, it shocks us. But it's kind of like, all right, we'll put up the Instagram story and we'll say rest in peace, and that's it. Then we just kind of move on.
And no one does anything about it.
Nobody does anything about it. And so when this happened, it really kind of hit me, and I text you immediately.
Yeah.
And I said, bro, this is a problem, and we're going to get into some stats here in a second, but this is a problem because as happy as somebody might seem, and Twitch is a great example of this, he was on all these shows and he always seemed like such a happy individual.
Well, what's crazy, he posted a video with his wife.
Like 2 days before?
2 days before, dancing and doing like a little, dance routine. And from our perspective, everything was fine.
You wouldn't, exactly.
You would never know.
So you have this individual that you would say, okay, you have everything. You have fame, you have money, you have position, you have family, and still he makes this decision, right? And so I think that the idea with the Male Mind podcast is to explore, try to understand why. Try to understand what are some things that we as males struggle with. You have your story, I have my story. We're going to be bringing on guests.
Yep.
But it's to try to do this deep dive into the male mind and try to understand what makes us tick, why these statistics are so wild. Let's dive into that a little bit.
Yeah.
Throw me some stats.
So you guys, this is what's crazy. So me and Tony, we were talking the last couple of weeks trying to figure out what we're going to do. And by doing our own research, and which is actually, you can look it up online, male deaths are actually 75% suicides, which is insane. It's a great number. And Tony calls me and goes, it's so different in Canada and in Europe and in Asia.
So much lower.
Way lower. So what we're trying to figure out is why this is happening, right? So throughout the podcast, you guys, we want to give you real information, raw footage, raw information of other people's experiences and what they've gone through, our experiences, but also really, like you said, touch on the struggles that we face, why we're doing what we're doing, what we think the way we do. And we want to explore and go off of out for us, for males, is that spiritual, the mental, the emotional, the physical, and also financially. Those aspects are one of the biggest traits that make us as males, but we also struggle with all of those patterns. So we want to give you guys the best information possible so we continue to make us men better and help you guys just become better overall.
Yeah, because I truly believe, and we've talked about this, you'll know this because you're in the fitness space.
Yeah.
But over the last probably 15 to 20 years, physical fitness has become pretty mainstream.
Yeah.
I would say to the point where most people, at least subconsciously, understand that they should watch what they eat.
Yep.
They probably should have a gym membership. Like, and people either go all in or they're kind of there. But I feel like physical fitness has kind of become mainstream.
It has.
And in my opinion, over the next decade, that same mainstream push has to happen towards
100%,
mental health.
100%. And that's the biggest thing, you guys, with fitness. And I'm in the fitness world. I've been in it for almost a decade now, and it's grown so much. But why has it grown? Because we need physical activity. We need fitness. We need nutrition. We need diet. We need a better understanding for us to feel better about ourselves.
Right, because at some point people realize, hey, if I don't do this, then
It's gonna get worse.
Sickness, I'm going to die sooner. I'm not going to be able to, pick up my kids. So I feel like the collective consciousness around physical fitness has grown to the point where it's pretty much widely accepted. And it's not strange for somebody to get a personal trainer or to go to a gym.
100%.
That's not seen as something strange. Whereas on the flip side, right now, going to therapy
It's
or
strange.
seeing a therapist is still strange.
Yep.
It's still something that it's like,
I don't
we
want to
see
do it.
or I'm not crazy,
I'm not
right?
crazy.
Right.
And again, you guys, the term crazy is just used by people, right? A therapist or a life coach or a brain doctor in this case will never say that you're crazy. Why? And I'm the number of statistics guy, and I truly believe that we all face some type of trauma, right? PTSD. We're going through things from our childhood. And people don't realize that as we grow older, our brain just kind of deletes it, right? So we're 25, 26, 27, now we're facing these traumas, these triggers that we have. But how do we know that those are triggers? We don't know because we don't speak about them.
Right.
And that's the main thing. He said it perfectly, you guys. It's common to go to the gym and work out, but it's not common for you to seek help.
Right.
Men are not seeking help when they are feeling low, depressed, sad, right? We face so many hardships as men, especially in America. We have to take care of our families, we have to work, and we can go off on a tantrum of many things, but for us, is giving you guys the proper info, the proper knowledge, so this stops happening. We want to be able to get to a point where male are comfortable enough to seek help. There's us, there's different podcasts out there as well, there's different people and help that will make this go away. And for me and for Tony, our purpose, our passion is to make people better and to help others.
Yeah, and with always keeping the proper respect for the professional channels, right? And I think that this idea of just normalizing going to therapy, seeking professional help, you might need medication, you might not. So, but it's just the idea of getting men to a place where they're comfortable enough with going to see the person. You know what I mean? And understanding that that's okay. Like, there's nothing wrong, or it doesn't make you less of a man
100%.
if you need to go talk to someone, go to therapy. It might be by yourself, it might be with your partner, it might be with your children. But that idea is really what I want to push.
100%.
Because on this podcast, we're not going to solve all of your problems.
Nope.
But there are people out there that can help you make progress in that regard. But we need to be comfortable enough to be able to seek those individuals in a way that doesn't make us feel bad about ourselves.
100%.
And I'm going to come back to the same analogy time and time again with coming to the gym. There are
Right.
people out here that are lifting right now.
Yeah.
Why are they doing it? Because they want to get better.
Feel
They want
better.
to look better. They want to feel better. And that is normal.
Yep.
What are we doing about our brains? What are we doing about our emotions? And you said it yourself, you have to try to understand them. When you understand your emotions, where does it come from? You can start to try to untangle it and try to unpackage it. I tweeted just the other day, somebody asked the question, what is the biggest lesson that you've learned as an adult?
Right.
And what I shared is that everything is your fault. Things may have happened to you in your childhood that were not your fault.
Right.
But when you get to a certain age, you're responsible
For everything.
to fix it. You're responsible to unpack it. You're responsible to try to figure it out, because too many people carry these traumas throughout their lives.
Deep in life.
And it gets worse. It gets progressively worse, because in your teens, you have a certain set of responsibilities. You feel a certain type of way.
100%.
If you don't sort that out, Now you get married. Now it's a different set of pressures.
Now you're adding more stuff.
More stuff
to your partner.
Now
to
you
your
have
friends,
kids.
family, kids.
Now, if you talk about Twitch, now you're in the public eye.
Yep.
Now you're trying to start a business. So it just stacks on stacks on stacks. And if you don't solve the root issue, that's when you get to a place where you feel like you can't do it anymore.
100%.
And when you get to a place where you feel like you can't do it anymore, this is where kids lose parents. Mm-hmm. And I told you this in a text. I said, dude, everything that we're going to do, I mean, we painted these walls.
Yeah.
If one kid can keep their father
Yep.
because of this fucking podcast.
Yep. Our job is done.
Like that just that thought alone gives me the chills, right? Mm-hmm. Because you don't know who's listening on the other side.
100%. And with that, I had so last week I posted on my Instagram, hey, this is what we're doing. This is the project that me and Tony are doing. We're going to make it happen. I got over 50 DMs. I think I screenshotted one and I sent it to you. And I think I posted it on my Instagram. It was a female, and she said, Louis, thank you so much. My father died in 2018 due to mental health. He committed suicide. And we had no idea what to do. There was no help to be found. Now, this is what, 4 or 5 years ago. And it's still happening, right? And going back to what you said, man, I truly believe that this is how I look at it when I explain it to my clients. Think of an onion, right? I think I talked about this before. An onion. You guys, to get deep into the core of that onion, there's layers and layers and layers of skin, right? We'll call it skin. To get to that core, we as humans, we are afraid to peel back every single thing that we are as a person to get to the actual core. So going back to us and speaking about our brain, our male mind is a factor of us men. We are afraid to get deeper and deeper and deeper to find what the fuck is going on in our brains. Why are we failing? Why are we not succeeding? Why are we not making money? Why did I cheat on my wife? Why am I having suicidal thoughts? We're afraid, and it's fear. Mm-hmm. We're afraid to actually go deep and peel our own onion. I truly believe that. So with therapy, with seeking guidance and counseling, the professional, their job is to understand who you are, but also understand what's happening and what happened to make you get to this place of where you are right now.
Of course, right? And I think a key skill set to that is learning how to communicate. Mm-hmm. We don't know how to communicate. I mean, I have tried so hard to learn as much as I can about communication. How do you have these difficult conversations? How do you go to your father that abused you as a kid and have that conversation? Like that's the only way that it's going to go away. And I've tweeted about this before. I mean, we are, in most cases, we're all 4 to 5 difficult conversations away from a different level of happiness. 100%. The problem is we don't have the skill set to have those conversations. So a part of this show is going to be diving into that. Like how do you approach these things so that you can start to get some closure, start to feel better instead of trying to just push it away.
And you guys, I read this so many times. People are afraid to open up. I'll tell you this right now, me and Tony, we have plenty of conversations, vulnerable conversations as friends. And I've never been afraid to communicate and be vulnerable. That doesn't make me weak. So I'll tell you this, right now, you guys are afraid because you think that being vulnerable and crying and seeking help is a weakness. It's not. It's a triumph.
Or it could also be that you've tried in the past.
And you got shut down.
And you're constantly misunderstood. Mm-hmm. Your partner doesn't understand you. Yep. Your parents don't understand you. You feel like they don't understand you. Mm-hmm. And I found that to be also just as common as feeling that it's a weakness. It's every time I do it, shit gets worse. Mm-hmm. So I'd rather just stay quiet.
Answer. There's no rapid answer for me.
So every time I tell my wife how I feel, she gets mad at me. We end up in a fight.
Yep.
So what we start conditioning ourselves to do is to just shut up.
Right.
Just shut up and go to work. Mm-hmm. And so we reduce ourselves to this character that has no other purpose than to make money.
To make money.
And that
be a father.
And that's it.
To show up.
Right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes we even feel that our partner also feels that way, but it's all communication and it's all context.
It really is.
If you can have a grounded conversation and learn how to have those conversations and understand how to communicate with your partner, what things trigger them too. For a lot of folks, if you raise your voice, you lose them.
You lose them.
You lose them. If you start cursing, you lose them.
I know this because
if you start pointing fingers, you lose them. So there are ways that we can build constructive conversations that can actually have impact.
Yeah.
But we need to learn how to have those conversations.
And that's the one thing that I've tried to change for years. It's how to communicate with my partner, with my clients, right, with people. And one thing that guys and males don't realize that when we attack, when we're yelling, it's all a factor from madness. I'm mad, I'm upset, I'm angry, I'm sad. All those emotions trigger this anger. I'm gonna attack. But we don't know, and we don't know how to control these emotions to make it be a grounded conversation. And again, everyone is different, you guys. Everyone has different problems and issues, and one person could be sad, one could be angry, but they don't know where that's coming from because we're masking it. We're hiding all these things, and we're just shoving it down the toilet until one day what's going to happen,
which is these decisions, right?
Decisions that are made.
It's like, I've tried all these different things. At least we feel like we've tried everything and everything fails. But in reality, we keep doing things the same way.
Yeah.
And we keep trying to have the conversations in the same way. If we have this aggressive nature, we keep pounding at that. Or maybe we retreat and we give people the silent treatment.
100%.
And that doesn't work either. Just giving people cold shoulders. So whatever our own personality traits that we have developed to try to explain ourselves or to try to have these conversations, in many cases it doesn't work.
Right.
But in order to change it, it requires us to learn different skills.
Exactly.
Learn different skills.
And skills could be, again, there's so many skill sets to help individuals, right? One of the main things I tell people when they're in my office, like I literally see males every single day. We have a check-in process, and sometimes I know by their mannerisms, by how they feel, by how they're talking, something's going on. And as a trainer and as a coach, as a mentor, my first question is, how are you doing? All my clients that are with me, hey, I'm doing okay. But are you really though? And it's funny because I didn't realize that my job 8 years ago was going to turn into nutritionist. I'm also a coach, but I'm also a life coach and a therapist in a way. And I've learned how to get people to talk to me. My skill set is I'm a very open person. I'm going to make you feel important. I'm going to make you feel safe for you to talk to me about whatever's happening. Even yesterday, I literally had a conversation with two of my clients, Tim and Caleb. They were okay with me saying their names, and they're going through a hard time. Family issues. And the biggest thing, I said, hey, just talk to me. What is happening? And Caleb, he cried. This is what I'm going through, Lou. That's all he needed. He needed to vent. He needed to communicate. After that, I said, hey, thank you, Lou. I really want this conversation to happen very well, and thank you for being so loving and giving. I needed that. You guys, that was literally a 5-minute conversation.
That was it.
That was it.
That's what I'm saying. We're 3 to 5 conversations away.
100%. But going to that skill set, we have to be able to understand us as people, and let's make it you and your partner, right? How you communicate to your partner is huge. I've learned this. He's learned this. And everyone's gonna take it differently, right? But for me, it was taking away my ego, my anger, and my sadness. And we'll talk a lot about what we have gone through personally, but for me, is I had to really understand is, why do I attack? Why am I yelling? And I felt a lot of pressure on me, and I've been with Cass for, 6-7 years now. So you understand and start learning how you are to show up better for other people as well. And I think the biggest skill set for us as males is to take a step back and actually understand what we're feeling and what we're going through. We don't know how to do that. Wouldn't you agree?
No, absolutely. We don't. And so I agree 1,000%. I think that we need to get better at navigating chaos. Because there's also this other side, and I felt this personally, that we want things to be perfect all the time.
Right.
And it's just not going to happen. Like, there are going to be things that you're going to have to deal with, people that you're going to have to deal with, unexpected life changes.
Right.
But there's a point in thermodynamics that I love. This is an example that has changed my life. The second law of thermodynamics states that entropy in the universe always increases.
Yep.
Entropy, there's the technical definition, but in layman terms, it's just chaos.
Right.
So chaos in the universe always increases.
100%.
And once chaos gets to a certain point where it's so large, it reaches something that's called a bifurcation point. The bifurcation point is at the moment where you either die or you evolve. You die or you evolve. A perfect example of this is highways.
Yep.
If you look at a very complex highway system, the reason why it became that, or the reason why it's so evolved, is because at different points in time there was too much chaos.
Right.
There's too much traffic, too many cars. It's just unsustainable. So when the system becomes unsustainable, it has to evolve. Yeah. So how does it evolve? They bring in engineers and they plan all these different roadways and exits and off ramps.
And they find an answer.
And they find it and they figure it out. How do I get rid of this chaos? In this case, chaos being cars.
Yeah.
How do I dispel the traffic? I have to get rid of it. I have to give
love
it away.
I love
Get
that.
out.
I love that.
And so that's why when you go to big states like LA or New York, you have these very complex systems, highway systems, because there's just so much chaos around that if those don't exist, then it just saturates. So for me in my life, I think about it the same way. How sophisticated is the system, the open system called Tony? How much chaos can it handle?
100%. And with that, and that's actually perfect, because a lot of times when I'm having these hard conversations with people that are suffering or they're struggling, I give them a very simple picture. I say, you're driving on a highway, right? You're going 65 miles an hour consistently all the way through. Whenever you feel that you have to take that exit road, that's when something's going on. Sadness, you're mad, you're upset, something happened, your bank account went negative. So what happens? You start diverging into that exit lane. My job for my people is, how do I keep you at that consistent flowing speed in your highway? So for me, and I learned this by obviously going to therapy and seeking help, right? And I in my head, I go, okay, and I have levels, right? Level 1 through to 10. My job as a human, as a male, and this is the work in progress that I've done for years, is how can I maintain my neutral emotion balance, right? We'll call it that. So I can stay neutral all day.
Despite chaos.
Despite chaos. So I look at it as, if I'm on a highway, and my days are amazing, I have good days every single day. But when I start feeling myself diverging into that exit, I stop myself and I go, okay, what's happening? What am I feeling? What am I doing? What happened? What triggered me? I do this, guys, every single day to maintain my neutral emotional balance, because I don't want to be too high, I don't want to be too low, depression, right? And I love Jay Shetty because he explains it very, very well when he goes, you want to be able to find common ground and be neutral, so you didn't get too high, anger, you're mad, you're upset, you're yelling, or too low. And I believe that most males don't know how to navigate through their highway system. All they want to do is exit road, exit road. There's no thought process. Let me take a step back and think what I'm going through. Let me talk to my wife and my kids and my therapist so I can go back to normal. And remember, this is a work in progress for a lot of people that are struggling. You have to find a way that works best for you to be low and neutral and start honestly being away from that chaos. And chaos can be depression, or it can be you're angry and you want to commit suicide.
Of course. And so the idea is, how do we get to a place where we can manage more chaos?
Yep.
Right? In business, you often say you're paid to the degree of the problem that you can solve.
100%.
The bigger problem you can solve, the more money you're going to make.
Right.
When you talk about emotional situations like this, the more chaos you can handle, the more you're going to be able to stay neutral. And calm and deal with things and not freak out, right?
Right.
And so, I think that's going to be one of the key elements to this podcast is
100%.
understand ourselves, but also try to get to a place where we can handle more stress and not let it break us. 100%. Because you can't it's completely idealistic to think that you're going to live in a world with no stress, where days are going to be just perfect, where it's just not going to happen. But when you get to a place where your highway system is so evolved that traffic doesn't back up, when you've created the off ramps and you know how to take a step back when you need to, you know how to analyze yourself. You've created all of these off ramps. So now your highway system can deal with a lot more cars, a lot more chaos, and it's not going to back up into crazy traffic. So when I take a look at myself, I always think about that analogy. How evolved is my highway system? Is it just a 2-lane highway where if the simplest crash is going to back up for hours, or is it a 5-lane with off ramps and security? I mean, how evolved are you?
Yeah.
How much shit can you handle?
I remember, you guys, when Tony speaks about evolving, it's honestly listening to your own shit, listening to your own head. We will not evolve as humans, as people, like kids, right? They're growing up. Kids evolve at such a rapid rate because they're learning and they're experiencing and they're talking, and it's such a safe soul, right? But for us, we go into we finish school, go to work, have a family, pay for the bills. That's it. That is our identity in a way. For me, and for you also, is evolving was physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, and spiritually. And that's what I want to convey every single time we have this podcast, because I want you guys to understand that we as men can evolve in so many more ways to be better. And again, we can talk about so many different things that evolve into each little topic. But the idea, you guys, and what Tony's saying in this highway, in our highway system, I believe that we have different patterns, right? We have struggles, right? We have what's our passion, what's our purpose, how do we get there, right? Our goals as men. We're stuck because I'm not making the money that I'm making. I'm not providing for my family, right? How do we go around that? How do we make you think better? How do we make you feel like you're worth so much more and continue to live, right? Because a lot of us, you guys, don't feel good enough. We don't feel worthy enough, and this is talking about deep stuff, because I used to be in that. When I was obese, I did not feel good about myself. My self-worth was here, my self-esteem, how I would talk to myself. And I think back, it's been 2014, so 8-9 years now? I have evolved so much. The exact same thing Tony's talking about. But it was the deep, shady ass conversations with myself to get away from my sadness, my depression, my obesity, to become a better person. And I would not be here right now with this man and the business and things that we're doing if I didn't do the hardship.
Of course. And just remember, guys, you're probably 5 to 7 conversations away. And so we're going to get into all sorts of topics, guys. We're going to have guests. We're going to have people on the show. But the idea with this episode number 1 is just to kind of pour our heart out to you guys and just let you know why we're even doing this in the first place. And, the phrase that you're always going to hear me say is, if one child can keep their father, if he can make a different choice, if he can go to therapy, then it doesn't matter how much we spend on paint and mics and producers and stuff. It doesn't matter. So that's kind of the idea. So thank you guys for being here. There's going to be a lot more content coming. You guys are going to see it soon.
Yes.
So let's get this done.
Get it done. You guys, thank you so much for listening. And like I said, I want to be able to cover all the topics. And I want to be able to have individuals come in and talk about their experiences and talk about what they did, right? And we're also going to have some doctors, some therapists that I personally know that would love to help everyone who's out there, even females too. Females and males can really, really find their self-purpose in life and become better. But I agree 100%. I have been around a lot of people that, have been low and have came out of it. And our message to you guys is for us to be able to give the resources and the connections and the vulnerability to be able to speak out and get away from that darkness and get away from, that hole you're stuck in. I promise you guys, the hole that you're in, and I'm being very, very blunt right now, will fucking suck you dry. And our goal is to have you have that little light bulb and say, you know what? These guys help me. These guys are going to help me understand what I gotta do to be there for my kids, be there for my wife, to be a better person. And overall, with my purpose in life is be in the service of others, and I would not be here if that wasn't my purpose.
I love that, guys. So with that being said, this has been episode number 1 of the Male Mind Podcast. Subscribe, pass it on. Until next time.
Until next time.